What would you do if you made $1.4 million in a day? Well, this is Andrew Sweeney, and that's exactly how much he made selling courses online. He then started hitting $4 million months and made $18 million in 1 year alone. So to help you get started growing your own online business, I asked him how he'd go from zero to $250,000 a year, and he unleashed the steps to do just that.
First thing, you've got to find out what you're passionate about, because this is a problem that people don't realize when they start a business. If you focus purely on how much money I can make, I guarantee it's going to make you miserable. You've got to have some enjoyment in doing what you're doing, else it will consume you. This is going to become your life.
Is there any advice that you would give someone for finding what they could come up with?
So take the core idea and then look for a niche inside that. I had a girl come to me a few years ago. She wanted to be a photographer, teach photography. I taught her out of that. She wanted then to teach wedding photography. I said, we're still competing with the big boys. She then went on to teaching people how to take pictures of horses. Crushed it. She found a niche within her interest, but she's highly interested in it, so she's passionate about it, so she loves doing it.
How did she end up finding horses? Was she just Googling, or did it just fall on her lap?
Boy, you've got to research. I will find videos on YouTube, and I will look at the comments. I will go Facebook groups, and I will look at books on Amazon and look at the reviews. And I don't want the one review where it says postman didn't deliver it, dog ate it. I want the great book but didn't cover this. I want the conversation that people are having with themselves. I need to also find the narrative, because when you find it, you then have to talk to them in such a way that you can demonstrate you understand them.
So this would be a case of saying, right, I'm looking for a problem within the book reviews, the YouTube comments,
yes,
the Reddit forums, the Facebook. I'm looking for like a repeat pattern of people saying, I've got this problem, I've got this problem.
But the thing is, Ed, it's because people they'll look at people who are famous. Like if I was starting a channel on, say, weight loss, I could look at the like of Joe Wicks and think, well, he's quite broad. But the thing is, when you become famous, you don't have to search for your customers. Your customers will come to you. So if you start off niche, then you can start to go up in increments and you can start to widen out. Once you become, as I term it, the big dog in the market. I mean, Tony Robbins could start a course on practically anything tomorrow and people would buy it because it's Tony Robbins, but it wasn't always like that.
Tony Robbins' midwifery course.
Yeah.
We've done the research and now we think we've got this idea. We're like, okay, we think we found a gap. What happens next?
You've got to put together an offer that people would have to be silly to say no to. And I see so many people when they write sales copy on, and when I say write sales copy, that could be a sales video, could be a YouTube video, a sales letter. The way they write it, they introduce new objections.
What would you mean by introducing a new objection?
I'll give you an example. I went into Currys, an electrical superstore in the UK, and there's a guy in front of me and he's buying this absolutely enormous TV. The guy, the salesman's, he's about to take his credit card and he said to him, how are you going to hang this to the wall? Because it's very heavy, you know. And the guy, I saw him think about it and he thought, you're right. And at that point, he put his credit card back into his wallet and he said, I need to have a word with my builder. I'll get back to you. So you need to know what their objections are.
And how do you work that out?
By asking people, YouTube with comments, Facebook, books, anywhere you can get. You want that internal voice, and your common sense will go a little bit of a bit away. But it's not just what they're asking; it's how they're asking it. What language are they using? What's keeping them up at night?
So let's say I go raid the internet, and I find that let's use weight loss as an example, and we find that there's loads of guys who are, say, 40, that really wanted a six-pack. They've got to the middle of their life and they're like, this is now or never. It's only going to get harder. And all the comments are like, how can I do it? It's getting harder and harder. We've found a problem, potentially, to package it around. What would you then do in terms of getting that into an actual juicy offer?
Well, if they want a six-pack at 40-year-old because they're going through some midlife crisis, which would probably be the reason.
That's what we discovered.
A big driver probably would be, you'd be surprised, people who've maybe split up with their partner, so they want to get back in shape, to get back in the dating game or whatever. The way I would approach that, I would appeal to their curiosity. Basically, I would start the offer off with something that alludes to the fact of, here's why men in the 40s fail to get a six-pack, the 6 things you must know. But the thing you've got to start off straight away, the thing you've got to understand is these people have seen this offer or an offer like it for the last 6 months. So it's not going to appeal new to them. What you've got to start off right away is pitching that this is something totally new and you've not seen it before. So you've got to grab them by the eyeballs with a headline, and then your next opening statement, as you know, has got to be something that gets them to look at things in a totally different perspective. It's got to give them an epiphany.
Yeah.
That, this sounds interesting. I've not heard this before. And then you've got to lead them into the offer. But then what you're painting is they don't actually want a six-pack. What you've got to do is, with your audience, is ask them, find out why they want the six-pack. Because what you're selling is the life with the six-pack.
So it could be, if you did the research, you might find that you're right. There'd been a load of guys who've maybe just got divorced, and now they're looking to find someone else. So you could potentially start to bring that into the offer, like...
Yeah, you bring it into your service, whatever it might well be, is nothing more than a vehicle to get them to where they want. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, do you know, I hope somebody sells me some PDFs and video downloads today. Nobody. Yeah? Never been said. But they do want, how can I do this in the shortest period of time?
Let's say we've got our YouTube channel. It's about men's fitness in their 40s. And our creators established that they want to get a six-pack because their wives have left them. So they've got a link below their video, which drives them to an offer of some sort of course or program, right? How do people then know what to write on the page? So we've been talking about creating curiosity. We've been talking about positioning it as this new thing. Where do people go to learn that? And where do they go to learn how to actually create a sales page?
My advice would be to anybody would be, pick who you follow very carefully. And follow a very small number of people. Because if you're going onto one channel learning from one guy one thing, then something else, then something else, and something else, you've got your brain is fighting to process all this various different information. And again, you're losing this laser focus. There's books on Amazon. I've read a couple of really, really good books. There's one called Great Leads. Narrow yourself down. Don't listen to the people who are selling you complex solutions, because all successful people, do the fundamentals incredibly well.
If you're a YouTube creator and you're thinking, I don't want to have to learn something new, like copywriting is titles, copywriting is thumbnails, copywriting is intros, hooks, telling stories. Like it directly impacts your videos. So you learn this one. This is why I obsess over teaching it to my students. I'm like, you got to learn copywriting, So let's assume they've gone and they've understood how to create a simple landing page because they've got good at copywriting and headlines and they've pitched their offer. Now the question is, what do I price it?
What people do is what they'll do, they'll look at how long the course is. This is the typical modus operandi. This course is 6 hours long and it's $100. I know what, I'll make it 10 hours long and charge $300. And you're thinking about it backwards. I mean, if you wanted to learn how to say wire a plug up and you went on YouTube and there's a myriad of different videos, one's 10 minutes long, one's 6 minutes long, one's 1 minute long, I'm going to click on the one at 1 minute long because it's going to give me the solution in a minute. So think about, first and foremost, when it comes to pricing, think about what's the minimum amount of information you can give somebody to get them to get the result, period, and then stop. Then think about what amount of value will this information add to somebody's life. If you had a system where a stockbroking system, so buying stocks and shares where you could guarantee a return of 10%, that's incredibly valuable. If you're teaching people the correct way to knit, it doesn't have the same amount of value. I had a lady a while ago who was a fantastic digital artist, and she was teaching people how to create fantasy characters in Photoshop. She was taking pictures in a garden and then turning these into the most amazing creations, and she was struggling to sell it for $97 because it's just like a bit of a hobby. But the thing was, as I said to her, I said, look, when is the situation arise when a lady wants to look like a princess? It's a wedding day. You need to change this offer and be teaching this to wedding photographers. Here's what you can do. Here's how to, because now it's now valuable. It's now a $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 course.
It's very high stakes as well, because you can't screw that up.
It's extremely high stakes.
I accidentally deleted a wedding I shot once. It's a friend of mine. I said I'd do it for free. And I got back and the hard drives had corrupted. And I was like, oh, she's scary anyway at the best of times. She's going to absolutely kill me. This is like the only day. But I just had a few photos and I animated them to make them look like they're moving in slow motion. I put it together and she was like, Ed, this is amazing. And then she was like, can you send us all the other footage? And I was like, yeah, it's really big. It's like terabytes. I'll upload it. And she asked about a month later, where is it? I was like, it's still uploading. I haven't seen them since.
So no, I mean, just think about what value it gives to somebody's life, and then arrive at your price and start off. If you want to start off, if it makes you feel comfortable, start off on the lower side. Start off at 1,000, 2,000, and then incrementally put it up. So that's what you're doing. You're evolving your offer. What you start with and what you end with are totally different things.
I really like what you just said. People just do not realize that the thing you make first is always the worst version. It's not the best.
Oh, it'll be terrible. It will be terrible.
So we've got the page, we've got the price. Maybe we should touch on building it.
Building it, this is where people go down a rabbit hole now, where they start worrying about whether they should use ClickFunnels, whether they should use Teachable, Kajabi, Kartra. Pick one. Don't overcome, just pick one.
If someone's only got one offer, and it's their first one, what should they be doing? What should they be laying in place so that if they do have a second one, they can then offer it to that audience who already bought the first one?
Whatever you do when you get a list, keep your list warm. However you do it, show up every single week or at least every other week with something of value.
So
whether
email.
It's email, free YouTube video. In fact, talking about that, all the platforms, the YouTube, the Facebook, the Instagram, it should be your mission to get people off that platform into your email list consistently. If YouTube shut you down tomorrow, or if Facebook ban your account, or somebody hacks your account, your traffic is gone. Once they're on your list, you own them. So you need to think about, nurturing these people on these platforms, but give them something of value where they would want to sign up. So I use that email to pitch or to start a sequence. Before you download the here's something you must know. And I'm lining them up, and then I'll leave them on an open loop, intrigue. I'll say, no, tomorrow I've got something extra special for you. Watch out for it. And then I send them another email, and I'll drop them into an email sequence of 8, 9, and I might run that to a really cheap offer.
How many emails would you send in a sequence? I know it's probably it depends thing, but if you could give someone a good number to aim for their first.
It's open-ended. I'll typically run an email sequence with, say, about 8 or 9 emails, and I kind of stack a few at the beginning, like, say, 4 or 5, and then quite later on, maybe at like 21 days, I'll typically then send another email. Are you still struggling with... So there's been this gap.
Yeah.
And I send an email, and I start the email off, are you still struggling with fill in the blank, whatever that might be?
Getting a 6-pack.
Yeah, getting your 6-pack, yeah. And I asked them again, it's kind of like it comes out of nowhere. And that actual last email, are you still struggling with? That tends to work really well. That gets a relatively high conversion rate.
So they've come in. Let's just assume that we've used the YouTube channel to promote this. And now we've got them into they've bought something. They're now in our email list. We're emailing them every week. At what stage do you say, right, make another product? Or do you turn around and refine the one that you've been pushing already?
I'll probably start messing around with refining the one you've got. I mean, because don't forget, Ed, you've got people here that are your customers. So these people are going to be very open with you. You're in contact with these people. If you're doing one-to-one calls or you're doing group calls, ask. But the thing is, when you ask, where the real value lies is when the people are talking, kind of at the end, where they say, oh, and by the way, because at the beginning, what they're going to do, they're going to start off telling you what you want to hear. Oh, it's fantastic. We learned a lot, and this, that, and the other. They're going to be really nice to you. As they get more into the conversation, it's the, oh, and the, and then you just need to lead them, because you want to find out what they're thinking, what they think's missing. And people don't want to give you bad news. People don't want to say, well, it didn't cover this and I was a little bit disappointed with that. You've got to coax that out of them. Then you go back and refine your offer.
This is probably a good way of finding out also what problems they have remaining that you could put into the next
What
offer.
problems they have remaining, but it also gives you ideas for cheaper courses that you can run as an ascension ladder. Like going back to what you did with your how you can write better than 99% of all YouTubers. That would be a great offer. But the problem you've got to contend with is, if you do that, are you going to be branding yourself as a cheaper alternative? It's very difficult to be high ticket and low ticket. So you've got to have a very clear strategy in place rather than going all over the place. You've got an offer at $29, an offer at $497, because what you're doing now is giving people alternatives, and you're not giving alternatives, you're giving people dilemmas. When I see a sales page where it's got 2 offers on, or even two prices buying, you know, $397 or $5,000, say, or paying 5 installments of $1,000. This now breaks the flow because people go, I'm going to think about that, and at that point you've lost it.
It's like telling them that they need to hang the TV a little bit. Then,
yeah, you've now broken the flow.
Andrew, thank you very much. This has been
Ed, it's been absolutely my pleasure, sir.
And if you want to learn more about growing a business on YouTube, then watch this video next. It'll help you go from $0 to $1 million.